Before we begin, a heads up that this episode contains descriptions of self-harm. Please listen with care, and if you or someone you know may be considering suicide, contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 on your phone.
So fire it up. The Miracle Man dropping in for his first run in the finals.
In the summer of 2000, Dave Mirra was at the top of his game.
Everyone, and I do mean everyone in this crowd, has heard about the double loop, and they are all waiting for it. Yeah.
As one of the best bike riders in BMX freestyle, Mirra was looking to take home the gold in action sports' biggest competition, the X Games. And with one trick, he blew the competition away.
To the box. There it is. Oh, double loop.
For the first time in X Games history, he landed a double backflip.
Man, that's why we call him the Miracle Man. That never ceases to amaze me, I tell you what.
The landmark trick secured another X Games gold medal for Mirra. After it was all said and done, he packed up his bike and took his prize back home. Not to Southern California, not to New York, but to a town in eastern North Carolina.
Of all places, in Greenville, North Carolina.
It turns out Mirra wasn't the only professional rider who called this place home.
You'd look at the contest series, and at that point it would be, out of those top 10 guys in the finals, 8 of them lived in Greenville.
At first glance, Greenville is an unlikely place to be the epicenter of a sport like BMX. Surrounded by farmland in the heart of eastern North Carolina, it doesn't even crack a list of the state's top 10 biggest cities. But in the early 2000s, Greenville was home to more professional BMX riders than anywhere else.
Small-time Greenville, North Carolina was the biggest freestyle mecca in the world.
BMX has the biggest history here.
I'm Anissa Khalifa. This is The Broadside, where we tell stories from our home at the crossroads of the South. This week, producer Charlie Shelton Ormond explores how a southern town became home to a community of BMX superstars that changed extreme sports forever.
As a former pro BMX rider, Steve Nowak has seen a lot of competitions.
We were going to New York, California, Arizona, all these places.
But there's one event he told me about that stands out. It was the late 90s. Steve was an amateur rider at the time, and he was on his way from Greenville, North Carolina to Los Angeles.
And we had our flight, and we were supposed to land on Thursday and ride on Friday.
Steve was traveling with his buddy Mike Laird, another rider who was set to compete in LA.
And Laird and I were contenders in both park and vert.
Park and vert are two different types of competition. Park is a freestyle event in a more traditional skate park, and vert, short for vertical, is on a half-pipe ramp with riders soaring back and forth, pulling out some of their biggest tricks. The two guys were excited to compete, but the night before the flight, they got a phone call.
Hey, they changed the schedule and vert's tomorrow. Well, we didn't land at LAX until 11 a.m. and the contest was at 11:30.
It was a long shot, but Steve and Mike were still determined to compete. They told the organizers to hold off on starting as long as possible.
So we landed at LAX, grab our stuff, get a rental car.
They weaved through LA traffic and got to the skate park. But the event was already underway.
Laird and I show up. These guys had already done their first runs and they're waiting on us. Put our bikes together, jump up on deck, rode the contest. Laird got first and I got second.
From LAX to the winner's podium in just over an hour. After the competition, a journalist came up to Steve with one question.
He goes, what is going on that you can come fly across country, throw your bikes together, and you win? He goes, what are you guys doing in Greenville?
What they were doing in Greenville was something never seen before in BMX. Steve and Mike were just two of the riders who hailed from this North Carolina town. At its height, Greenville was home to more than 24 professional BMX freestylers.
There wasn't any other place in the world that had that many riders concentrated in a small area.
So how'd Greenville, in eastern North Carolina, become this hotspot for an extreme sport? The story starts at a small skate park, sandwiched in between a local library and an elementary school.
That was J.C. Park. Yeah, that was the scene.
Today, J.C. Park's reputation in the world of BMX is legendary. But when Steve moved to Greenville as a teenager in the late 80s, the park was brand new and pretty bare bones.
And it was just a mini ramp at the time. So
one ramp.
Just one ramp, just a little under 6 foot.
The city added some more ramps here and there, but park maintenance wasn't exactly a top priority.
By the time I started going around and competing, all that was left was the mini ramp because everything else would get rot to it. And instead of the city doing repairs, they just came in with a forklift, picked the ramp up, and threw it in the trash.
Now, in all fairness, at the time, BMX wasn't the international phenomenon it is today. BMX freestyle is now a part of the Olympics, but this was decades before all that. So it makes sense Greenville's Parks and Rec department wouldn't exactly pump money into repairs.
BMX was actually dying off. In the early 80s, mid 80s, BMX was huge in California, and the movie Rad had come out, and all that stuff was happening.
His name is Crew. Hey, good looking. BMX is his world. Rad is his way of life.
In 88, BMX as a whole was kind of dying down, and it got down to the guys that really wanted to ride. It wasn't a flashy thing anymore. It was actually guys that were riding.
Serious riders only. People like Steve.
I was like, well, if I'm going to continue to compete, I've got to have ramps to do it on.
So Steve and a friend came up with a DIY solution.
And we assembled a ramp in the shop, and I hauled it in sections out to JC. No permission. And I literally just put this ramp in the middle of the open area there, assembled it together, and I had this ramp.
The new setup at JC started to attract more local riders. And in the summer of 1994, Steve met somebody who coincidentally lived right across the street from the park.
And this guy shows up and he says, you into BMX? I said, yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, maybe you heard of my brother, Dave Mirra.
Miracle Man once again, game face on, and he is on fire.
He had, at that time, like 7 pros worldwide, and Dave's one of them. So I said, Dave might come down to visit. And I was like, oh, man, so if Dave Mirra's coming, we got to have more ramps.
With this young superstar on his way from upstate New York, Steve hatched a plan. Maybe, just maybe, JC Park could lure Mirra to move down south. So he decided to give it the old Field of Dreams treatment.
If you build it, he will come.
So back to the workshop he went. Now remember, this was technically city park turf, but that didn't stop Steve and his friends, who built more and more unofficial ramps. By the time Mirra arrived, the park had gotten its glow up and was ready for one of the sport's top riders.
First time I got somebody at the park that's doing backflips and tail whips and all this stuff, and I'm just like, whoa, man, this, to ride with them at that point was like another level. It was like, cool, I'm into basketball, and Michael Jordan just showed up at my court, and I'm riding with Michael Jordan.
The plan worked. Steve and his buddies showed Mirra around Greenville, and soon enough, he was packing his bags for North Carolina.
It was a small scene, but you got to understand, I came from Syracuse, where we didn't have any place to ride.
This is Dave Mirra in a documentary about BMX in Greenville.
And then come down here and I could ride every single day. It was like, wow. It changed me. It changed me as a rider, and I say the whole move to Greenville for me was a career saver, without a doubt.
And Mirra's migration to Greenville couldn't have come at a better time for BMX. Just a few months after he relocated, the sport was catapulted into the spotlight, thanks to a big new competition.
From this day forward, the world in sports will never be the same. These are the Extreme Games.
95 hits, and that's when the first X Games happens. And that was kind of like BMX all of a sudden is now on a national spotlight. It's on ESPN, and people are like, oh, look at this.
Dave Mirra dominated the X Games. By 1999, he had already racked up 10 medals. And each time he stepped up to the podium, next to his name, folks watching on TV would see his hometown, Greenville, NC. Mirra's success started to make waves back at JC Park.
The BMX scene exploded because people come to visit and they decided this is where they needed to be because the riding was just so intense.
This is Mike Laird, Steve Nowak's buddy and one of the early riders who relocated to Greenville in the late 90s. At the time, he was living in Virginia Beach and looking to go pro.
And being that Dave was here, it was just a no-brainer because he was in the top 5 guys in the world at the time.
Mike says more and more riders began to follow the same pattern. They'd hear about this BMX scene, come visit, and get hooked.
Like, why Greenville? It's small town, cost of living's cheap, because pro BMXers didn't make a lot of money. We had a public park that was free, and the ramps were at high level.
And there was one more thing going for it. Greenville's a big college town, home to East Carolina University. And most of these guys were in their early 20s. So
when you got a healthy night scene on top of the riding, it was just a perfect storm of everything.
By the early 2000s, a new era was underway. Many of the top riders in the world had settled in Greenville, and a new nickname solidified its reputation: Pro Town, USA.
It was that. As far as a concentration of the top competing pros, it hasn't ever been like that before or after.
And this is where I come into the story. I moved to Greenville in 2001, right around the time when Pro Town was really taking shape. And like a lot of kids in the early aughts, I too had an action sports phase. Mostly stuck to skateboarding though. I did, however, chip my first tooth at JC Park, called skating quits soon after that. But these BMX guys were like local celebrities. Names like Mirra, Laird, and Ryan Nyquist had a lot of clout around town. And watching them ride was like seeing fireworks on wheels. I saw people do stuff on bikes that blew my mind. Mike Laird says this environment bred a kind of competitive camaraderie.
Because it's either you ride at the same level with everybody else or you just get left behind. And it's very infectious when you're practicing at the park and then other riders are pushing themselves. They don't necessarily even have to do the hardest tricks. They just have to do what's hard for them. And so when you see somebody really pushing themselves, trying something new, it gets everybody excited. And then next thing you know, the casual practice session is turned into like a miniature competition.
There was no pressure, no bullying, nothing like that. It was, all right, everybody's off work at 5, 6 o'clock. We meet at JC and we ride. We didn't realize what was actually happening we're training. We were training, but we weren't. We were having fun.
And that thriving local scene at JC became a BMX hotbed that trickled out into the rest of the sport.
Oh, it most definitely was setting a standard.
These guys would ride together day in, day out, then go unleash a new set of skills at the next competition. Tricks tested out on ramps in Greenville would end up in California or even another country just a few weeks later. And Steve Nowak says nobody was driving things forward more than Dave Mirra.
Wasn't, we're in our contest, it was, we're competing for second. Dave was taking it that high level and everybody was playing catch up, but he was flawless. And that was what changed the actual scene of the competitions back then. Was Dave was not only progressing, but he was riding so good that everybody had to try and step up to his game.
In the following years, Pro Town experienced some growing pains. Many riders moved out of the sport and on to life's next chapter. And the infrastructure took on a different shape. Some of the top guys built their own private warehouses with skate parks inside, drawing away some of that attention from JC. But the BMX scene kept rolling on. Dave Mirra and other top riders remained household names, even as they competed less. But then,
I think I saw something pop up on social media and I was like, that can't be true.
Pro Town was hit with a tragedy.
So then I started making phone calls around town and it was.
Hi everyone, Ken Watling alongside Angela Green in the WNCT 9 on Your Side studios. We interrupted programming briefly though with some breaking news.
That's coming up after a short break.
Ever feel overwhelmed by all the AI hype? You know it's the new big thing, but you struggle with how to use it in your day-to-day work. IDEOU's AI and design thinking programs are made for leaders like you. People who want to stay ahead, but keep problem-solving human-centered. IDEOU's courses are designed to seamlessly transition from theory to practice, ensuring that you can apply new skills right away and spark immediate progress. It's practical, hands-on, and built for real-world impact. Class starts soon, so enroll today. For a limited time, IDEOU is offering Broadside listeners 15% off site-wide. Go to IDEOU.com/broadside. That's IDEOU.com/broadside for 15% off. IDEOU.com/broadside.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
As a kid growing up in Greenville, Austin Hardy figured something was special about his neighbor.
He had this massive vert ramp in his backyard. I still had no clue what that was. I still had no clue who he was.
But one day, Austin was watching the X Games, and it clicked.
It was Summer X Games of the year 2000. It's when he pulled the first double backflip in X Games competition. And I'm like putting two and two together. It's like, that's the guy that lives like right there.
His neighbor, the miracle man himself, Dave Mirra.
Got the courage to go up to his house, and I remember saying something stupid like, I saw those two flips you did. That was really cool. It's like, two flips, looking back, it's like he did a double flip. But he was like, thanks, man. He was super nice.
From that point on, Austin was all about BMX.
All just happened so quick. I was like, that's what I want to do.
And Dave Mirra quickly became his mentor.
I was shy and quiet, and he took me under his wing, and it just escalated from there on out.
Hey, I'm Dave Mirra. Welcome to my hometown, Greenville, North Carolina. I've been riding a bike pretty much all of my life. I've been pro for 10 years. It's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of practice.
2001 is when it really started for me. And that summer, he asked me, he says, hey, I'm going to be doing this trick tips video. Would you like to be in it?
Before we get started with the basics of jumping the pyramid, I'd like you to meet my friend Austin. What's going on, Austin? Cool. One of the most important parts...
And so that summer, out at JC, I filmed a video with him and did several tricks that I had actually just learned. And I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Take your butt and put your butt over the transition, lead with your front wheel, steer right in. Yeah! Now you can see where
Austin was just a kid, 11, 12 years old, when he started riding with the pros at JC. But by this point, Dave Mirra was a megastar in BMX. So just showing up in this video made Austin something of a celebrity too.
That following summer of 2002, they had a booth set up at X Games for that video. And said, hey, in the video, and they're like, you can't leave, stay right here. All of a sudden, there's just this line that starts forming. And 12 years old, and I'm sitting there, I got to learn how to have a signature.
I'm just learning cursive.
Right, yeah. And I signed autographs for like an hour and a half.
Austin kept riding and eventually went pro. And at competitions, people could tell he came from Pro Town.
Certain people would see me in different parts of the country and just see my style, and they're like, we can see where you got that from.
Nice. There's a Greenville style.
Right.
Yeah.
Dave always had this style of where once he got upside down, he would kind of like do this pumping motion and would come back in and land so smooth. And I'll look back, I got chills thinking about this right now. I'll look back and see clips of me doing it, and I'm like, I see him in that. I see where I got that from. Special little things, like that.
Austin's relationship with Dave Mirra speaks to his influence overall on BMX in Greenville. It echoes what many riders experienced. For a lot of folks, Mirra was part mentor, part friend, and always a competitor. He was the heart and soul of Protown. And that's why in February of 2016, the community he helped build was devastated.
We were first to report to you that pro BMX biker Dave Mirra is dead at the age of 41.
Greenville police responded to the 200 block of Pinewood Road for an apparent suicide. When officers arrived, they found Mr. Mirra sitting in a truck with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had been visiting friends in the area a short time before the incident.
New reports show BMX legend Dave Mirra was diagnosed with CTE after his death. Mirra, like many NFL players diagnosed with the condition, committed suicide. Mirra's was a textbook case of CTE. He reportedly suffered countless concussions during his career, and friends and relatives said he was behaving strangely just before he died.
It kind of just put me in this haze. I just didn't really know what to do, what to think. And that really just hit me hard.
When you're at a high level and your whole life is just devoted to one thing, and that's all you know when it's gone, the hard thing to deal with.
I mean, there's really not a day that goes by that just something won't pop up. I always think of Dave. He mentored me on the bike. There's things I've learned from him just about life in general. You just couldn't ask for anything better. Him sitting up there on the deck with you on your bike was just, you felt at home.
After Mirra's death, the world of BMX mourned its loss, and many of the riders who were close to him looked for ways to honor his legacy. Austin got into restoring old bikes and gave some of his mentors' personal rides a new life.
Right here is a replica of Dave's 1999 bike that he rode. It was actually the first bike that...
Mike Laird also worked with some metal to honor Mirra. Today, he has his own welding business and makes a lot of custom BMX bike frames. And recently, he made a special statue honoring his friend. It was unveiled in the summer of 2024 at a memorial service for Mirra at JC Park.
My dad inspired a generation of professional BMX riders to move to Greenville, and the resulting sessions here at JC Park were legendary. This memorial is meant to inspire everyone to push their limits every day, just like my dad did.
You can carve it.
Today, JC Park doesn't see as many top pros ride through. But what Protown started, a strong community powered by a love for BMX, is still there. And it was in full force when I returned to JC on a Sunday in July.
Yeah.
Greenville, North Carolina, man. That's where it kind of all started.
About a year ago, Dylan Potter was at JC for the Mirra Memorial and saw firsthand how strong Greenville's BMX community once was.
I wanted to replicate that same vibe, that same energy, and really just give back what I got out of BMX.
And JC Jams was born. Since then, Dylan has organized a session every month for folks to link up and ride together.
Something little we started, and now it's a thing.
Mid-air, oh my God, dude.
On an extremely hot summer day, about 15 to 20 riders from across eastern North Carolina came out for JC Jams. And they were all ages, from 10 years old to self-proclaimed old heads in their 30s.
Since 1995. Yeah, I've been here since the beginning, essentially.
I mean, I could ride a bike before I could walk, but heavily BMX, probably 2 years.
Cool. Nice. How old are you?
I'm 14.
If I could inspire somebody to try something or push themselves to the best of their ability, then awesome. It doesn't matter what level you're at, man. We're all here for each other at the end of the day.
And above anything else, more than all the medals and the money, that is the legacy of Protown. The stars aligned just right for this group of riders to come together and elevate the whole sport. But the culture they created at this skate park, flying high in between a local library and an elementary school, has taken on a life of its own. There's room for only one person on top of a bike, but when you're at JC, you never ride alone.
It's a cool feeling to know that it's been there that long and there's still guys riding, and it's this BMX brotherhood.
I just don't see how anything like that can ever compare again. It's just special.
This episode of The Broadside was produced by Charlie Shelton Ormond. It was edited by Jared Walker. Our executive producer is Wilson Sayre. Special thanks to Mark Losey. You can check out his documentary, Protown, for more about the BMX scene in Greenville. The Broadside is a production of WUNC North Carolina Public Radio and is part of the NPR network. If you have feedback or a story idea, you can email us at broadside@wunc.org. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a rating, a review, or share it with a friend. I'm Anissa Khalifa. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be back next week.
Just when you thought summer couldn't get any hotter, Pluto TV is turning up the heat with thousands of free movies. Presenting Summer of Cinema. Stream your favorite blockbuster films like Gladiator.
I will have my vengeance.
Good Burger.
This is what I call fast food.
Beverly Hills Cop. The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. And Julie and Julia.
Bon appetit.
All for free on your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.